Hello and happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And folks, not only is the entire crew here, we added a plus one on the back end. Crispy Bomb making his debut, who hasn't had a chance to really sink his teeth into Jim Ryan's rear like a lion hunting the gazelle. We're going to get into a lot of really beefy topics. First of all, Sarah Bond. I mean, if that wasn't an interview to take over Phil Spencer's job as head of Microsoft Gaming when he's finally done, I don't know what was. I mean, listen, Phil did amazing up on the stand. As a matter of fact, he did so well, and this is coming from a lawman's perspective. He actually got under the skin of the FTC's lawyer live for us to see and observe. Obviously, the way Phil handled himself on there with pauses and long-winded answers that broke down explanations of something that the FTC lawyer was not looking for. He was looking for no answers regarding, Call of Duty and such, and he didn't get it. So he was obviously very frustrated. But I got to tell you, I think the star of the 2 days of litigation is without a doubt Sarah Bond. I got to tell you, she was cool as the other side of the pillow. There was even some spice in some of her rebuttals regarding the, exactly what she does for Microsoft, for Xbox. And I think that so far, it's not going really well for the FTC, folks. It has actually gone really poor. I've seen a ton of editorials on it, and obviously FOSS patents. Obviously, Florian Mueller has just been, my God, the coverage that man has been doing for us as gamers, us as a community. I want to sign the guy up to win an Emmy. You know what I'm saying? Like, his work has just been nothing short of astounding. He's boots on the ground, covering it for us. And obviously, there is no trial today or hearing today. Day 3 picks up tomorrow. By Friday, we'll have closing arguments. And listen, you just never know with courts. You never know what the judge is going to decide. But it does appear that at the end of the day, the injunction that the FTC has been asking for will not be granted. I don't think it's going to be granted because they haven't proven console and market harm. If you watch the gentleman from Stadia that came in, he did more damage for the FTC than he did help when he actually said, now this is on record, folks, under oath, that Stadia was in competition with both PC and console. Meaning what? What does that mean ultimately? That means that it's just one market, folks. Just like Microsoft said it has. Cloud, PC, Nintendo, all one market. But we're going to get into, of course, not only that, we're going to get into the fact that your PlayStation 5 might actually catch fire while playing Final Fantasy 16 because, gee whiz, folks, I have seen 30 plus videos with people who are streaming live and throwing headphones and throwing controllers and falling backwards and a lot of a lot of outrage with a game that is doing this during cutscenes. Now, I'm not saying anything bad about the game. I'm going to buy the game for $30 used because I am not giving Square Enix any of my money. I will give a stranger my money. I will give eBay my money. I will give GameStop my money, but I will not give Square Enix my money. And from what I heard, a lot of people are quite enjoying the game because it's not a very traditional Final Fantasy. It's more action-based, and that's kind of what I dig. So I will play it, but just not in a way that the normal person will. I refuse to support Square Enix in any way at all. But listen, I've rambled enough. My God, it's 5 minutes in. We got 400 people here. If you're finding the channel for the first time, folks, I humbly request that you consider subscribing. Folks, we are 232 subscribers away from 13K, which is a big deal for a mom and pop kind of an organization that Mrs. Boom and I have put together with Double Barrel Gaming. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. And while you're here, while you hit the like button just for shits and giggles. But let's get into the introductions. Crispy Bomb. There's spicy stories to be had, and of course, like the bat signal, I flashed it. You arrived. What's going on, Cape Crusader? How the heck are you?
I am Batman. Man, I'm just watching my tax dollars just like float around in this multiverse of madness we have that the FTC is doing right now. It's quite sad. Um, you're you're trying to block a merger and you basically have no knowledge of what you're blocking. It is pretty incredible what we're watching and listening to and reading. It's mind blowing, and you know, uh, the, the PlayStation 5. I don't know. Clearly, it has issues. It's not the first time I've seen this, so I think as we get into it, I mean, I think you're going to see more and more people have issues, and I don't know. Like it seems like a capable console, but at the same time, this is not the first time I've seen these type of things. So, you know, it's it's a wild whirlwind of PlayStation is taking the L's right now. I mean, Xbox is taking small L's, but PlayStation's taking huge L's, and I just it's boggling my mind like that people are still defending this stuff, but I digress, and we're gonna get into it.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun today, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, again, the hot topic is going to be what's been going on, obviously, with the FTC versus Microsoft and Activision. We've learned Indiana Jones exclusive to Xbox, which is pretty dope. We have learned that Jim Ryan was, in fact, cross examined by Microsoft. And some of his testimony has been sealed due to Sony's request, which is a shame because I really want to know what lion dance moves Jim Ryan was talking about. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe we will one day. But all I can tell you is that we're going to get into some spicy, hot button topics. And I'm glad that you're here to hang out with us. Web Dave, what's going on, brother? You had a great show yesterday.
Yep.
Obviously, you put out a great interview today. The controversial, to say the least, but
Yep.
an
Yep.
interview nonetheless. How are you doing, brother?
I'm doing really good, Boone. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And the interviews. It's like I said, I wanted to cover all aspects of the gaming community, and you can make up your own mind after you watch
Yes.
the interview as to what you think about what do you think about Lono. So, but that's why it's there, because I've had a couple people like, why did you interview him? Exactly the reason you ask. They want to you just want to make it out there. But man, so who knew the court case we were going to get a
world premiere?
Find out about a game at the court. That was crazy. That's crazy. And next week, ooh, can hardly wait until next week, man. Ooh,
Yeah, well, I
exciting.
mean, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 4 more days of this. Obviously, the court battle, if you will, is going to happen Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, with closing arguments, where the judge is going to be the one taking the closing arguments from both parties. I think that the FTC is limping into day three. I think that there are a couple of their smoking gun witnesses that they thought were going to help them actually wind up hurting them. I know there's been some talk about the way Pete Hines handled himself on the stand. Some people think it was terrible. Some people think it was okay. I think it was okay. Again, folks, not everyone is ever been on the stand. I don't know Pete personally. I don't know if he's ever been deposed before. It's scary being up there, folks. Let's understand that for a second. I mean, as a police officer, I sat in many trials that I was responsible as the arresting officer, where I had to produce evidence and go through my memo book and remember things. When you're up on the stand, it's scary, folks. Even though because already you swear under oath, if you lie, you're gonna go to jail, or at least in my opinion, for me, lose my job and then go to jail. So it's daunting. It's a daunting thing to be questioned up there, it's not like us having a conversation on a podcast where you can just blur out what you're feeling. You really got to just answer the questions, and sometimes those questions are are set in a way that they don't really tell the whole story, which is what they tried to do to both Phil and Sarah. And like champions of justice, they handled the business. But before we get into it, Crazy Lou Gaming, what's going on, my brother? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling awesome. Just loving what's going on in this trial. Just loving how the FTC, I don't know if it's me, but were they negotiating this Friday for Sony? I mean, I felt
Kind
that
of sounded
Friday.
like that. We're going to talk about that.
Exactly.
Yeah, it did. It was like, hey,
I was like,
Sony
what?
this, Sony Cloud, Sony. I kind of felt like they should have been just basically wearing Sony hats.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I was like, this is weird. And you know what, you were talking about behinds. I'm gonna tell you something. When I logged in on Friday, right, listening to the trial, I was listening to it for like 3 or 4 hours because I was busy moving. But man, he kept, what I found funny, and people should have noticed this, is how he asked the questions. He asked like he asked a different questions, and then all of a sudden he came back like saying, what were your conversations about exclusivity and stuff like that. He kept up like mixing, you know, everything of the I think it was the FTC, right, asking Phil.
Yes.
And
Yep.
so I was like, man, thank God Phil was like, you know, listening and, you know, and taking his time to answer, because he could have made a mistake with all those crazy questions he was asking. But hey, man, I'm just happy that this trial is going through. I'm happy listening to how it's going. And man, I was happy even the judge got annoyed. That was just, oh my God. But hey, let's have some fun today. We got lots to discuss. And thank you for having me here, man. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I will say this, folks. Don't aggravate the judge when you browbeat a witness, and this isn't a court proceeding for a trial for, like, you know, a felony or someone you murdered. This is about video games. I think, and again, this is me personally, I thought that the FTC lawyer that questioned Phil was incredibly inappropriate with his behavior. I thought he was overly aggressive, in my opinion. And I think that at the end of the day, I think the judge, even you saw by the way that she basically sat him down in the corner with the dunce hat on. And rightfully so, because Phil was answering the questions. And like I said, the way Phil answers questions is actually the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to be long-winded. You can't rush to get things done, because there's a lot of writing on this. So your testimony is incredibly important and will be used against you or against your company. So you know the way Phil did it was straight up perfect. But I think that, you know, Phil did it at like a gentleman. I think the way Sarah Bond did it was gentlemanlike, if you will, or woman, you know, gentlewoman-like, if you will, but with a bit of a, you know, she showed her fangs a bit, and I could not, like, I don't know Sarah Bond. I've talked to her on Twitter. But if I could, I would tell her I'm incredibly proud of you, how you handled yourself as a paraprofessional, because it just was absolutely brilliant. But Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, always smiling, always happy to be here. We're happy to have you. How you feeling, brother?
I'm doing pretty good. Glad to be here with you guys, man. These past few days, as far as this court battle, has been pretty interesting. Like Web Dave said, we got an exclusive world premiere announced. A lot of us kind of speculated it would be multi-plat, but man, it just feels like, much like Crispy said, our taxpayer dollars are kind of going to waste. You would think the FTC would have a better prepared case if they're going to take this to trial, but I don't know. I'm starting to sense inside sabotage to kind of bring Lena Khan down and maybe get her, you know, ousted. But man, glad to be here. A lot to talk about. Let's do this.
I think Lena Khan's behavior as chairperson of the FTC, at the very least, Fuzzy, is egregious at best. I think there is certain concerns that have been addressed by both parties for abuse of power. I think that she has an ideology for that may for some be sound. I used to defend her ideology until I realized that her ideology is classroom based, meaning that she's never had a position like head of FTC. She had a classroom where she theorized a lot of the things that she's fighting and arguing against, and I think that is wrong. I don't have a degree. She's probably incredibly more intelligent than I ever will be, and that's perfectly fine. but I can tell you that she is using law loopholes that she has accused Microsoft of potentially using to her advantage to close out deals from smaller companies who can't afford the kind of litigation and time that she is willing to throw up these roadblocks. So ultimately, I don't know if she gets impeached because there's still question of collusion, which I believe is there with the CMA. I believe that eventually will come out. I don't want to see anyone go to jail. I don't want to see anyone lose their job. But if she colluded with a foreign country to close out, to try and block two American companies to then protect a Japanese company, it's to me it's very muddied water. I don't like it. Crispy Bomb said taxpayer dollars. My wife and I have been paying for years. I honestly can't remember the last time we actually got taxes back. So for us, we're always paying. I'd like to know where my taxpayer dollars are going. And one of the things that's clearly being wasted on is frivolous lawsuits from the FTC. And ultimately, when the judge does block or does not authorize the injunction, which I believe is already been proven, but we'll know in the next couple of days, it's going to be another loss for Lena Khan. And at some point, somebody in Congress is going to have to step up and say, you know what, we cannot allow this craziness to continue on. I know Washington is a bunch of lunatics, but this is the point of delirium. But you're not here to talk about politics, folks. We're here to talk about video games. We're going to open up with a couple of small topics. Now, I got to give credit where credit is due. Xbox Series X/X or Xbox _Series _XS. He is, he's a Twitter personality. He put out something that I thought was incredibly thought-provoking to open the show. And right now, as of today, you can preload a couple of really big first-party games for Xbox. Now, there are some on there that make sense, right? Starfield and Forza Motorsport. Those make sense, ladies and gentlemen. But you can also preload South of Midnight, Avowed, Clockwork Revolution, and Towerborn. Right now, you can preload these games on your Xbox today. Crispy, I know that you came in. I didn't get a chance to send you all the topics. But when I see this list, my mind starts to move a little bit. And I say, wait a second. Starfield makes sense. Motorsport makes sense. But when you start hearing South of Midnight, Avowed, Clockwork Revolution, could these games be coming next year?
I mean, it's looking that way, Boom. Well, first of all, I mean, Avowed, like, dude, like I've been saying this, and I will beat this drum until no end. Obsidian's going to be one of the greatest purchases Microsoft has ever made. As a company, I mean, just that one studio, their tier level is up there with the Coalition and everybody else. That makes you say, I can't wait for what we get from them. So I think Avowed, like everybody's like, some people are like, oh, it doesn't. I'm like, dude, they give builds months upon months in advance, and this game hasn't even been given a date yet. Relax with the footage. They showed us gameplay. That's what we wanted. Okay. It was, in-game engine stuff. Like, you got to realize they're still working on, developing themselves with this new technology that they have. So you have to allow them to do that. This isn't Pentiment. This isn't Grounded, which by the way, I mean, it seems like every game, whatever it may be, whatever genre it is, they come out and it's just amazing. And, I have no doubt that Compulsion wants to prove something as well. I think they want to show what they're really capable of with Xbox, Microsoft backing. and really give something special, something a little bit different. I mean, just the accents and everything we just saw, and like there's not a lot of games that really like go into like the actual like lore of like some southern things, like especially like Louisiana has like a lot of like lore and like these different like things that like you don't really think about, but they're there in like this like it's basically like mythology type thing, and I feel like they're gonna touch on that. Clockwork Revolution, I was surprised when I saw that. I mean, In Exile has been pretty busy. I mean, are
some
they
people in
gonna
the
be
chat,
another
Crispy, are
studio
saying
that-
some people in the chat are saying they can't. Folks, I'm looking literally at a screenshot now. Is it docked? Is it doctored? I don't know. I mean, the guy, I follow him. He follows me. He puts this out there. I don't know why you would he would make it up. I'm looking literally on his dashboard, and all of these games are on there. South to Midnight, Clockwork, Avowed, Towerborn. They're all here. So if you can't, maybe it's a region thing. I honestly, I don't know. But again, the fact that some of these you can tells me that these things are closer than we think. Crispy.
Yeah, I mean, like it could be that 12-month thing that they are not going to use anymore. I mean, we don't know. And the one thing I say is when I haven't seen many delays from many of these studios. You know what I mean? So if they're ready, they're ready. The download thing, I get a little weird about that because there's just not enough storage space right now, unless you buy, a secondary item, you know what I mean, to have more storage. So like some of us, like me, I uninstall, I reinstall. I still own the game. I just, I play with, hey, I want to play these 3 games, over a period of time. I install them and then I uninstall ones that I just kind of got tired of. And, that's probably what a lot of people do. So like me, I'm not going to be one of those people that's going to pre-download anything but Starfield. I mean, right now it's like, what's coming? Like, I
did Motorsport and Starfield's what I did.
Yeah, so like Motorsport, I mean, I ain't fuzzy, man. Like, like I'm not into that racing like that. Like I've always been like a Need for Speed type guy. So like, Horizon, like it caught me for a little while. I didn't, I don't know. I've lost touch with racers a little bit because I feel like it's just been regurgitated in its own way over and over again. Like I played Sims, I played Gran Turismo on the PlayStation. Like, I got really into certain of them, but at the same time, I don't feel like, there's enough different other than the visuals and, having more multiplayer and stuff like that. Other than that, it's like I'm still doing the same thing. Driving a car until no end. And, unfortunately, I burnt myself out of that. But I mean, Starfield, like, once I saw that direct, and I really haven't even been able to talk about much of any of that either because of everything that's transpired. But I mean, I was blown away. And that's where I'm like, like right now, if I'm going to download, I'm probably going to reinstall like Fallout 4 and get farther through it because I'm like probably between 60 and 75% through the story, even though I have like a ridiculous amount of building stuff. And I'm like, that's where like Starfield, I'm like a little bit concerned about the overwhelmed part of it, but this is a whole new world. So, I mean, you have to, if you have the storage, why not pre-install? There could be,
apparently a lot of people saying it's just a couple of megabits. Like it's basically like a pre install. It's a small file, but some people are saying, who was it over here that just said it? Hold on, let me see. Lucius Augustus says if you use the app, you can on your phone, you can preload those games. They're all listed. So again, this was posted by Idle Sloth, and obviously it was written by and pictures were taken. So again, not the biggest story, folks. But I'm just saying that it's very interesting that the games that we don't know exactly when they're coming out can be they're up there for preload, and I think we could see some of these games in the next, because again, Phil Spencer actually said that there are some games that were announced and some games that weren't announced for the big four that are next year. I think Clockwork Revolution could be one of those games. The game looked really good and really done, but we'll see.
Actually, I have one last thing. Boom.
Sure.
Was Hellblade 2 on there?
I don't think it was, to be honest with you.
That would be a game that would be delayed. Like delayed.
I don't think it's going to be delayed as it's going to potentially come a holiday of next year. Maybe. I think maybe Avowed is first quarter of this year, and Hellblade needs a little bit more time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little interesting because like they seem more ready than we, they made themselves seem at a certain point. I don't know. It's interesting that like, Clockwork Revolution is there and you don't have Hellblade 2. It's something I just like kind of thought of. It's a little, I'm like, me, I want the game to be as great as it possibly can. And I'm glad they didn't put set dates because, at the end of the day, we hate when they do that. You know what I mean? Because it generally doesn't work out that way, especially the way the world's been at this point. And, now it's just like, okay, we gave a year. So, I mean, the guess is as good as mine, like what comes out first now after all that.
Listen, all I know is that the Xbox has no game. Conversation is done. That's not happening anymore. They have more than enough games, and they have Indiana Jones, which is great. But Dave, let's get your hot take on this, brother. In there. Yeah. Well, you have to. You got to be. Again, this is going to be a scandalous episode because we have a lot to get into, and I might be a little salty and a little froggy. Even.
No,
Dave. I mean, again, not a big story. The preload of these games, does it suggest to you that the games are closer than we think?
It definitely is I think it's a good sign for that. But like I was telling you in the green room, excuse me, that I'm thinking that we know they're coming out. We know their day and date for Game Pass, and it makes sense to go ahead and put them in Game Pass to let people who are casual Game Passers or coming in for a game, or maybe you have thought about, well, I think I'm gonna back out until other games get in here, and oh my goodness, and then see those coming and think, oh man, okay, I need to just, there's going to be plenty of things coming and dropping, so it just kind of, to me, it's almost like an advertisement for keeping Game Pass and keeping it going because all these great things are coming. But like I said, it's just that's the marketing guy in me that kind of thinks that that maybe they're hopefully some of these are because we don't know, are coming out sooner than later. But boy, it would definitely some of those big titles are in there that are like every time you see that that name is going to keep coming in your head. Oh yeah, Avowed. I need to play that when it comes out. And it's just one of those things. You hear more about it, and it just kind of implants it in your mindset that this is something I need to focus on. So that's what I'm thinking.
Well, it makes sense, and obviously you're putting on your marketing brain or your marketing hat, if you will. So good on you for that. Crazy. Let's get your hot take on this, brother. I mean, look, again, we don't know for sure what the scenario is on how close some of these games are, but I find it incredibly odd. I would even dare say interesting that you can preload these games. Yes, they are a placeholder, but does that to you suggest that we might actually get these games sooner than later?
Yeah, I think we will. I think we will. Because remember, if they're already on there for you to install and put them on pre-install them and put them on your Xbox. So yeah, I think next year is going to be the mark, and yeah, we're pretty soon going to get dates because how many showcases do we have left for this year? We'll probably get some announcements, on when is these games are going to finally come out. Instead of saying 2024, probably going to get a date, an exact date to when it's going to come out. So yeah, for next year, I think they will deliver those games that they have on the list. they will deliver them. And what we need to find out now is when is it going to be delivered. So if they are on the list to pre-install, to have them pre-installed on your Xbox, so yeah, I mean, it could be sooner or later that we finally might get them. We might get that day and date, and whenever one of these showcases, probably because we got QuakeCon. What is the other ones that are left? I mean, there's
Well,
a bunch of them.
you have QuakeCon, you have
Yeah.
Gamescom, you have the
Gamescom, yeah.
Tokyo Game Show, you have obviously the end of the year big one with Keighley and the Game Awards. That's 4 of them.
Yeah, so basically, probably we're gonna get the announcement when are these games gonna come out next year, day and date, and I bet you this is gonna be sooner or later. Sooner or later, we're gonna get these games like pretty much probably like between. I think we're gonna get a game in January, then probably one in March, and then the rest of them after June. So yeah, fingers crossed. Let's see if we get these dates.
Absolutely. Hey, Fuzzy, let's get your hot take on this. Where does your mind go when you consider that some of these games, they don't have release dates? Hell, they don't even got release years, but they're up for preload. I don't know, man. Like I'm calling foul here.
I think there was kind of like a order of what's coming up of that list. So I would assume some of those are going to probably be seen within the next year. As far as Hellblade, I honestly think that one they want to. I think they're going to try to pull a hi-fi rush kind of deal where they show it on Keyless and it's like downloadable today kind of thing. But I don't know if that's going to be this year's Keyless or next year's Keyless. We'll soon find out. But with Avowed and the Clockwork one, that one was kind of a surprise. But who knows? Like you said, that one might very well be holiday next year if we do wind up getting Hellblade, sooner rather than later. But they typically don't put things that are going to be more than a year out as far as available for like the placeholder type deals. Usually it's somewhere within 3 months to 6 months, but these are guaranteed to be in Game Pass. So why not put them up there? Like you said, if somebody's browsing for it, somebody just signs up for Game Pass and they want to be able to search, for info on Clockwork Revolution, why not have that placeholder and that page available for them to kind of check up on it and stuff like that? But I think seeing how some of them are still searchable on some apps or some browsers and not others, I think somebody forgot to hide these or have a shown date after, like, let's say a certain amount of weeks, because with some of them not showing or being as easy to do the placeholder download, I think they may have slipped up and kind of revealed next year's hand to some extent, but we'll see soon enough. It's kind of cool to see that.
I love it. I think that this is a peek behind the curtain, even if it's a mistake. And if this is what's coming out in the next, bunch of months for Xbox first party in the same year that Starfield comes out and obviously Forza comes out and they potentially close ABK, talk about the next 12 to 18 months as an Xbox fan. We're gonna be bathing in goodness. Let me catch up with some of the super chats. We got a new channel member. We want to shout them out as well. And then we're going to get into some of the ridiculousness. Has anyone been watching the socials, seeing how some of these PlayStation or as Infinite Umbrella, like say, hooved brothers and sisters are trying to rally the troops for the collector's edition of Starfield not coming with a disc? Like, are we gonna go down there? Because I got receipts, folks.
Oh man!
And I'm not gonna name names, but I have receipts of some people that were cheering on Spider-Man 2 not having a disc, and Horizon Forbidden West not having a disc, and I don't know, God of War Ragnarok collector's editions not having discs at just a code. And it was okay. It's like, we don't need this. I'm all digital. And now because, Starfield is not coming with a disc for the collector's edition, there's outrage. And there's torches and pitchforks in the streets. We're going to get into that momentarily. And again, it's just silliness. Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, drops a $2 super chat to open us up and says, "Hi, everyone. Please hit the like button, brother. Thank you so much for the generosity and, of course, the channel promotion." Gray Falcon OW drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Did you see the news of Google looking to put Stadia 2.0 on YouTube? Google Playables. Yeah, I did see that. Actually, I saw a story where Apple, and this comes the way of Tim Sweeney, head of Epic Games, PS, by the way, where Apple is going to allow game streaming on YouTube, from YouTube on Apple products, but they're still blocking GeForce Now and Xbox. And he actually pointed that out on his official Twitter account, which I thought was really was great. Thanks for the information, and that's really effed up if you ask my opinion. But Apple's going to be Apple. Gerald Mack drops a very generous $2. Jen says, in my opinion, case should be closed. Now I see some chat in here, and I'm going to tell you what I know about the case. I agree with you. I think the case should be closed. The only way that this hearing gets cut short of the 5 days is if the parties concerned agreed to it. So meaning that if there was already enough evidence, the judge had her decision, she could ask the FTC and Microsoft, hey, listen, we're going to do closing arguments on Thursday rather than Friday. Both parties would have to agree to this, or it's going to go for the 5 days, which means that it's already gone for 2, and it's going to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning, closing arguments, and then the judge is going to then, over the holiday weekend, review everything, and then come back the following week after the 4th of July holiday and make her decision. Whatever decision that is going to be, whether or not she's for the injunction or against the injunction. I don't think that she is for it, to be honest with you, only because they haven't proven their case. They have to prove 2 things: market harm for console, they haven't, and market harm for cloud. And their star witness actually said, no, we competed with these, proving Microsoft's point of cloud, PC, Nintendo, and cloud all being, and on consoles all being the same market. But we have Thanaros drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, where can you listen to the trial? I've been getting the links from Everborn. The way that, and I've been fortunate enough to get into the actual Zoom trial. They only have up to 1,000 people there both days. Somehow or another, I got lucky. I was able to get into both Zoom the Zoom meetings thing and listen to the whole trial. If I get it, I'll put it out on the socials, but they cap it at 1,000. You'll try to register and it's already full. That happened to me a couple of times before I actually got in. So it's some people will be streaming it. I don't know if that's legal or not. I personally wouldn't stream it on my YouTube channel, but if you want to do that, you go right ahead and do that. Dreadful Sean drops a very generous $5 super chat, says, I've got a new name for the FTC, effing trial clowns. Oh, I love it. Since they take everything to court and lose during the proceedings. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous that you could lose that much and just, we're just going to sue because we can. It's ridiculous. James 176 has become a new channel member. James, thank you, brother. Super appreciate that. Jacob Novick drops a very generous $20 super chat and says, almost didn't get a kidney because I live in an apartment where, due to a principal who was mean, I got to move. And wow, that's awful, dude. I hope that you did get your kidney, and hopefully that person went to jail. He goes, I got to move, and that apartment broke the law. Couldn't handle medicine, which is a danger to a new kidney. Bad food for 8 months. Man, dude, I'm sorry to hear that, man. You're actually going through it, brother. I'm sorry to hear that. And I'm glad that you got your kidney. And obviously, hopefully, if that dude did break the law, whoever the principal was of the complex, went to jail, because, yeah, F that. We have Fanto Sir, drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, I, for one, welcome the Equestrian Sodium Odyssey. I don't know what the ESO. I'm not sure what that means, but if someone else figures it out, please.
No, it's a horse salt story, or basically he's making fun of the Sony PlayStation people.
He's talking about pony tears,
Yeah.
and I don't like that term, folks. I'm only saying what the kids are saying. I don't like saying that because we don't like to call them our hooved brothers and sisters, thanks to, of course, Mr. Umbra, who has coined that term. Folks, let's get into this again. It's a smaller story. Who here raised their hand, got the collector's edition for the Starfield? Because I know there's a lot of people in this chat that did. I'm actually glad it doesn't come with a disc, because what the hell do I need a disc for? I want to just load it onto my console and go. The fact that there are people running with this narrative, I'm not going to mention the websites, and there was a lot of them, and I can't mention them because you're going to click, and I don't want you to click these garbage websites. The fact that anyone ran with this is just terrible. Like, honestly, it's just terrible. It doesn't come with a disc. If you want a disc, buy the regular edition. I can guarantee you that 99 out of 100 people aren't going to care. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you want a disc. Maybe you're old school Noof Nukem and you need a disc. Hey, good on you. I think that it's fine. Fuzzy, let's go to you first on this.
Mhm.
This is all about nothing. And the fact that we saw some pretty reputable websites run with this, my God, I just get so disappointed. I know it's a business, folks. I get it, but
Yeah.
there's some things you just don't report on, man. This is a giant nothing burger times 10. Let's talk about it.
Well, here's the thing. I think there are, well, I don't think, I know that there are reports out there showing that it's better than 70% of users are digital primarily. In fact, I think it's closer to 80%. And
That's
that's
up there, dude.
regardless of platform. 80%. This is a generation where they sold 2 new boxes that come without a disc version, digital only version. I said this long ago when we saw those consoles. Good luck finding a disc version of any game come 2024 or holiday of 2024. And we've already seen some games, just like, what is it? Alan Wake 2, I think, is digital only. It's going to be a common thing starting next year. So if you want a disc, wait for these companies like Limited Runs and stuff like that to start putting them out. But these companies are looking to eke out every nickel and dime they can. Yes, it's cheaper for them to go digital than it is to print, ship, store, package, physical copies. PC, I challenged people before when these digital consoles came out. Show me a PC game that has a physical edition that's not like a limited run. Since 2016, there haven't been any. I think the last one was Doom, and that was in 2016. That's the last physical copy, and you had to hunt for that. And I don't even think you could buy it directly from Bethesda at that point. So I get it. I know there are still a lot of people that want physical copies. And unfortunately, the key thing is most of these discs nowadays don't have all of the info. So you still have to connect online. Or it's just basically a key so you can get the digital copy online. So I get it. We're already a decade past this argument of physical copies. Like the minute, like I went full digital, with the exception of like PlayStation, some of their classics when they were on sale and stuff at GameStop. I went full digital starting in 2016, and with places like GameStop, kind of floundering to some extent because of this digital move as far as gaming. We've already lost a battle. If you're about physical copies, it's a lost cause. You're either going to have to stick with retro games or games made prior to probably 2022 at this point, or just find a different hobby, or eventually suck it up and kind of accept the writing on the wall. But it's unfortunate to some extent that there aren't a physical option, but there are options. Like if you're all about that deluxe edition and you're willing to pay, was it $200 or $300 for that? You probably have an extra 20 or 30 to pick up the disc on a physical copy when it's on sale, probably 3 months to a year or whatever afterwards. So there's options, but yeah, this has been coming for the past couple of years, and at the launch of this generation, digital is the future. And if you're those last 20% that are still getting physical copies, just be prepared. incomplete discs, digital keys, or basically a CD key for your digital copy on them, and that's as good as it's going to get, unfortunately. But it is what it is.
We've seen this new world of gaming coming for a long time, folks. It's gaming's expensive, and to cut corners. So I mean, again, they did raise prices. I kind of wonder if cutting disc production and box production and instructions and shipping and things of that nature would have reflected onto the consumer, meaning that games would not have gone up to $70. But these games are costing upwards of a couple $100 million per game to make. So I mean, I get it. I understand that. I'm never happy with price increases. Hopefully, we never see another price increase for another 20 plus years, because I think 70 should be the limitation. And again, I don't buy most of my games. I buy collector's edition, Starfield being one of them, and I'm happy to do it. But I could care less whether or not it comes with the disc. That to me doesn't bother me at all. Crispy Bomb, this is a running narrative for the last 72 hours, where these are the same people that tout the PlayStation 5 first party prowess, which some of their games are just unbelievably great. But instead of playing games, which we know that they don't, they've sunk their teeth into this Starfield thing out of desperation, because they're not going to play the game. And these are the same people that are make claim in on the socials that they're not playing a game. I think a lot of these folks are going to be in closets, with the coat over the thing, so just you don't see the glow of the TV, and they're playing, and they're under an anonymous name, because they want to play Starfield. They just don't admit they're playing Starfield. How ridiculous is this, Crispy? Because you love jumping into topics like this and just destroying this ridiculous narrative. Uh-oh. Crispy, you there, brother? Did I miss a private? Let me see. Crispy, okay.
No, I am here.
Okay,
a little bit of buffering going on, but
So this is what we're going to do.
Yeah. There's a little bit of buffering going on. It's all right.
Back out and jump back in.
This is a nothing burger, especially there's no reason.
That's weird. I'm not getting any of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah, bounce out and we'll get you back as soon as you're back in. Yeah, just reload everything. Let's Crazy Lou Gaming. Let's make fun. Let's poke fun at this ridiculousness. Instead of going out and buying an Xbox, to play Starfield, or in a lot of the PlayStation fanboys, fangirls, they have $5,000 rigs. We know this for a fact because they told us that they do. So they don't have to have an Xbox. But what are your hot takes on this, Crispy? I mean, Crazy Lou Gaming. We'll get Crispy in a second.
Oh man, I just find it funny because seriously, I don't understand why people keep on fighting about the physical option. Because I'm gonna tell you something. My PC doesn't have a CD anymore. I mean, I remember the last time a PC had a CD. I mean, now if you go buy a new car, it does not have a CD either. I mean, why are people still fighting about this? And not only that, so they when God of War Collector's Edition came out without a disc version, they were like, oh, it's okay. Spider-Man Collector's Edition, oh, it's okay. But when Microsoft does it, oh, it's bad. It's always wrong. Why not? I mean, so why don't you guys give us the physical? What's wrong with you? I don't understand. How come every time Microsoft does something, it's always bad, it's always wrong? For them, they are never happy. They are never satisfied. Seriously. I mean, and it's like, oh, you said, Boom. I mean, why would I want a disc? I mean, I'd rather just add the code and just get it going. That's it, just go forward. Like how we've been playing for the past years, 5 or 10 years we've been playing like that, adding codes digital and just playing through them instead of getting a CD. Yeah. Seriously, I mean, I don't get the point for them, going through these shenanigans, as you say, trying to bring down or talk bad about what Microsoft is doing, because damn, it's always something wrong if Microsoft does it. But when Sony does it, it's great. It's awesome. I mean, it's a way to save money. Sony's saving up money, you know, printing out CDs is this and that. But Microsoft does it. Oh, why aren't they doing it? It's bad. $1 trillion company, they got the money to do this. But there's always a way just to talk bad about Microsoft or a game they make or anything. I mean, I don't know, but for the last 3 weeks, they've been talking about 30 FPS issue, which I'm like, damn, just wait for the damn game to come out in order to argue about that. Let's wait for the game to come out and let's see how it goes. Let's see how it looks. If it looks awesome, 30 FPS, then we all be happy. But if it doesn't, then let's go on a rant and say Microsoft looks bad. But yeah, there's always like, just to talk bad about Microsoft, there's always got to be a way. Always. Never good. It's insane and it's sad too, because PlayStation is always doing everything right, but when Microsoft does it, it's wrong. Seriously.
Yeah. It is ridiculous, but it's fine. Again, not the biggest topic of the show. We're doing this just for fun.
Yeah.
Crispy Bomb, you're back, brother. Let's get your take on this ridiculousness.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. Being a Game Pass subscriber and an Xbox owner, and also, I mean, God, the last Steelbook that had physical in it that I bought was Skyrim. They're pretty much obsolete. If you're gonna buy a collector's edition, you're not buying it for the disc. In logicalness, you're buying it, especially as an Xbox owner, because I mean, if you really want to be frugal, you could sell the code and then download it on Game Pass if that means something to people. Now you're getting the 5 days early access. I understand that. That's really the sell for them. It's not about the actual physical disc, because if we're going to be honest here, GameStop ain't nothing no more. They're shuttering their doors very quickly. Who are you going to bring it to? You know, you're going to bring it to your friend's house. Okay, well, if they have an Xbox, they probably have Game Pass. They're probably already playing the game. What are we talking about here? And, you know, just because they screwed up and acted like there was no physical disc, which there's basically, you could get a standard physical for the Series X, because y'all remember they announced a new console and it's still a Series S with no disc drive. So I don't know what everybody's like bugging out about. I don't listen to music with a CD anymore. I don't do anything basically that I used to with physical media anymore. It is all digital. Yeah, maybe if you want the premium stuff, you subscribe to what they want. Also, like, it is quite funny that they ignore the fact that God of War Ragnarok's collector's edition didn't have any
three
physical disc.
huge ones didn't have a disc, bro. Like all of their big ones. It's crazy.
You know, and that's like, but there's a physical disc out there, but it wasn't for the collector's edition. You're not buying it for the disc. I mean, let's be honest. Boom, are you buying it for the disc? No.
The answer is
Right?
no.
I
I'm
mean,
buying it for the watch to wear while I'm playing Starfield like a big old nerd.
You know, that's the point. Like, and you know, the value of the disc is not the same as the collector's edition itself. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's like the disc. Like, dude, it's a disc. Hello. You mean they give you the steel book, okay? If you really want to put a disc in there to make yourself feel happy, you know, with a lot of these games, then go buy the disc later, okay, and put the disc in there. You know, but at the end of the day, we're downloading the game regardless. It is a key to the license. That's what it is. Okay, the games, they do not run off the disc anymore. The CD could not handle what we're playing, people. All right, it's not feasible. Okay, and then you'll say, well, some of the games play offline. I'm like, dude, I haven't seen a lot of people saying, oh, this game plays great offline. No, they're constantly updating games so much at this point They want to save the money. Let's be honest. No, none of these gaming companies are for us as far as that's concerned. They're going to save money where they can. All right. But also, you know, the amount of storage that these games take up, you can't fit it on the disc. I mean, let's be honest here. You know, people need to just stop and think. You know what I mean? Like, it's time to move on from this. We have, you know, fiber optics coming here. We have all these different, you know, new internet services that we haven't had in our entire lives. I included. Like, I couldn't believe the internet I have. And it's just like, why is everybody got to sit there and stand on the hill that has already crumbled? It's crumbled like 10 years ago, it feels like. So it's a big nothing burger. It doesn't make sense to, you know, like get all up in arms. I mean, for either console, let's be fair. You know, I wasn't sitting there like, oh, God of War Ragnarok doesn't have a physical, you know, but these guys are over here like, oh, Starfield. Oh, well, did you forget that you guys had collector's editions that didn't have a game, you know, actual CD in there? Did you forget? So I don't know. Maybe they need reminders. I mean, most of the time when they're reminded, they ignore it because they don't want to hear it. And it's just like these sites that run with this stupid BS, but you don't see it on the other side. There's a problem here. It's called
it's
media
double standards,
bias,
kind sir.
We'll
You get it right.
What I find funny is that nobody blames the origin of physical disappearing. I mean, let's blame iPod. What was it? Was it iPods? iPods. Let's blame iPods for taking away the music CD thing. Let's blame Netflix for taking away renting physical movies. Let's blame all those companies instead of let's go blame Microsoft. Microsoft is always doing it.
It's again. There is some. Yeah, Crispy. There's something to be said, folks, about Microsoft being wrong and PlayStation being right. And here's another example. Here's another example of that, Crispy. Another example.
Oh Lord.
You know, and the fact is, if you really think about it, who wanted to be like we used to? Boom. I mean, seriously, it was absolutely ridiculous. I've had to, you know, tape radio to get like the songs I wanted. Like, I don't want that anymore. Give it to me when I want it, the way I want it, and that's it. Like,
okay,
good.
So
thank you.
I'm gonna prove how old I am to everybody.
Work awesome.
Yeah,
let's go with that. I'm just saying.
No. I mean, like my brother and I, you know, we used to have a tape deck in the car because we're old, right? We used to have. Like, who had dope tape number one? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to record all your musics from your albums, folks. This is real life, man. Listen, at the end of the day, if you really want the physical disc, then you go buy the regular edition, and there's your physical. Maybe you double invest. You know, you get the collector's edition. You buy the controller, you buy the headset, which I did, and you go buy. You save money for a disc when it's cheaper. I don't know what to say, but I'm perfectly okay with it. Real quick, sarcastic Taurus in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Let's be honest. If Spider-Man came with a CE edition with a watch and web shooters, it would have been sold out quickly. And yes, it would be a digital download, 100%. I'm gonna be honest with you. Nerd alert. If it would have came with web shooters, I'm not gonna front, folks. I would have bought it. I wouldn't wear it when I'm playing the game because I'm 52 years old, but I would have bought that and like put it up in my collectibles or something, because that would have been that's much nicer than the plastic statue or the gummy rubber that they made a statue of. I didn't get that. But the comic book G-Man has become a new channel member. Hey brother, thank you for joining the channel. We truly appreciate that, and glad that you're here to hang out. But folks, we got to move on to, we have two bigger stories we're going to cover. one of which comes the way of Special Nick, co-founder, folks, of the very popular and ever-growing Xbox era. I'm good friends with both Nick. I'm good friends with, of course, John, who are, do their weekly show. Jesse Norris, I'm very good friends with, and a bunch of the folks over there that keep that channel growing. Well, he posted something, as Nick does, and there was a story, folks, from Bloomberg Japan, where the sharks are starting to circle with Square Enix, folks, and the acquisition of that publisher is imminent in maybe next year. And according to Special Nick, who again gets it more right than he gets it wrong, apparently Microsoft is one of those potential buyers. Now, I bring up the story, folks, because it's scandalous, and it's a cheap thrill, if you will. Crispy Bomb, look, Microsoft currently, in their current Voltron form, that is the Five Lions, are already deemed by many, including myself, as the kings and queens, if you will, of Western RPGs. There's no doubt they have Western RPGs. Now, granted, there are some out there that are fantastic, and all you got to do is look over and you see what CD Projekt Red is doing with The Witcher, with the next Witcher's coming out, and obviously Cyberpunk. Those are fantastic renditions. But for the most part, I think, Crispy, it's safe to say that Microsoft does have a significant grasp, if you will, of Western RPGs, owning Bethesda, owning Obsidian, and what's the third one? Oh my God, why am I remembering? Thank you. So the ones that are making Clockwork Revolution.
Yep.
Could you imagine if next year, January, everyone had a great holiday, everyone's safe, everyone's enjoyed their holiday safely, we're rolling into 2024, and we know, okay, all these big games are coming out, and to open the year like they did 2 years ago, Microsoft announced that they're going to acquire Square Enix.
I mean, let's be honest, there'd be a lot of salty people out there. It would be entertaining for me to just sit there and watch with my popcorn. I'm going to be honest with you.
But would it be salty popcorn, sir?
Oh, it would be extra salty. I wouldn't even have to add salt. It would just be coming from the tears that happen. I will say this. If they still had Crystal D and Eidos, I would be down for it. I don't feel that's the play now. It could be just out there to, especially like Square would want to, like, say Microsoft like is interested because, they want Sony to pay more at the end of the day. I mean, let's be honest. They have played too nice with Sony. I don't think it would be logical for Microsoft to just go in there because you're still not going to get the games that are already exclusive on Xbox if you buy them. There's probably, we've seen all of it, laid out in front of us with this trial and everything else of how Sony plays the game. They even did it when Xbox bought ZeniMax. I mean, let's be honest here. So, what are you thinking about? Like, future iterations? I mean, the games aren't selling that great on the highest selling platform right now. So I don't know what to really say about it. I get the reasoning of doing it because you really want to get into the Eastern market and have a more
I kind of think you really want to stick it to Sony if you want to be petty, but I'm just saying.
Well, that's where the salty, so I mean, for me, I'd say no. For the saltiness that would involve, well, why the heck not? And I'll just leave it at that.
No, it's fun. Look, it's a fun conversation, folks. We're just joshing, right? We're just having fun. Chris V says something that is true and dear to my heart. I said this publicly. I'm not ashamed to say it. when Embracer Group purchased Eidos Montreal, Crystal Dynamics, and specifically for me, the Tomb Raider IP for $300 million, it broke my heart. I'm not even going to front because Microsoft has their studio count right now is just loaded, absolutely loaded with talent. There's no doubt about it. Perfect example. Go watch the show that a couple of weeks ago. Their talent is on another level, and it's all finally coming to fruition. But for me personally, when you consider what Eidos Montreal has done with Guardians of the Galaxy is a perfect example. If you somehow skip that game, go pick up that game. It is probably one of my favorite superhero games that are story driven, narrative based that I've played in a decade. And then of course, you look at Crystal Dynamics. Now maybe they didn't hit the mark for you personally with Avengers because the multiplayer and the microtransactions, it was just really kind of shoehorned in there and it ruined the game. But the story was pretty good. But listen, say what you want, they made some of the best Tomb Raiders in history. If Microsoft was somehow able to, after this deal is done, make that purchase to get those IPs, and then maybe they offer a chunk of money for the Tomb Raider IP, because we know that Embracer Group is not doing really well. I would love that over something like Square Enix. I don't like Square Enix as a company because they underrepresent many communities. We don't have to get into specific. I don't want to get into politics. I just don't like the way Square Enix does their business. So me personally, I could care less for Square Enix. I wouldn't buy them. That's just me. But I understand why Microsoft would. Crazy Lou Gaming. Let's get your hot take on this. If this was their next announcement, oh boy, would the tears, the salty tears, would be flowing. We'd all drown. We wouldn't even get to playing these games. We'd all drown from the tears.
I wouldn't get Square. I will get something that would really make them hurt, and I will get From Software. That's something that would really hurt Sony. Why? Because they're competing with Tencent. I mean, they've been buying stocks between Tencent and them. They've been going crazy, and I, as Microsoft, will go in and swoop, grab that From Software and say, "Hey, bye guys." That would really, really get a lot of people into tears, and that actually happens. Because like what Crispy said, I mean, their games are not selling that well over there in PlayStation. I mean, they've been hit or miss. I mean, with Forspoken, they did horrible, and I think now with Final Fantasy they're doing a little bit better, but still it's a hit and miss. So really, I would just go for Front Software. That's what I would do. I would say no to Square and let me go to Front Software, because that would really hurt them, especially since they've been getting, all those gaudy games, like, for example, Elden Ring got Game of the Year, Sekiro got Game of the Year. I mean, I would just go after those guys and say, let me grab these guys. It's way, way, way more better than getting Square. Square needs a new team leader. Square needs a new build-up, and Square needs, to come back to how it was, and that's going to take them time. But I'm happy, hearing that a lot of people are enjoying Final Fantasy, which is good. I'm happy that they're actually enjoying that, because, hey, I don't want Square to go down. I don't want them to go down. I just want them to, to come back to how they were. And, of course, deliver their games everywhere instead of locking them up in one place. But, yeah, I would definitely just not get them and just go straight forward to From Software.
I would love a humbling effect, to be honest with you, for Square. I just really don't have. I have a tremendous distaste where they do business. I'm not a fan of it at all. Like I said, I think they go out of the way to. Again, this is my opinion, folks. They go out of their way to underrepresent communities. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I'm sorry. And if that bothers you, okay, listen, let's have a conversation. But I don't like it. I don't like it. So that's why I won't support them. Real quick, we have Jacob Novick drops an additional and very generous $5 super chat and says, "It was 2020. I am fine now." Good to hear, Jacob. But only a few people have heard this. Thank you. And for the trust of sharing that with this community, brother. We love you for it. He goes, one thing that made me recover after moving out was, dude, that's awesome. Finding this channel. What can I say? You're gonna make me cry on the air, brother. I get a lot of messages like that, and I gotta tell you, the super chats are great, and they do help us make some big giveaways, and and obviously keep the channel up to date. But it's messages like that that just they really hit, and I always felt like when I remember I was forced to leave the NYPD, not because of anything I did. I got hurt in a really bad way, and the job didn't want me anymore because I couldn't do it the way I used to. And that's fine, because I know I couldn't do the job the way I wanted to. But after 21 years, it was time to go. It's fine. And I always kind of felt that I was missing helping people. It's something I lived to do. Like, I really, they call me officer friendly for a reason, folks, because I loved helping people. And then when I started doing this channel, I get messages like that, brother. That is incredibly kind of you to say. I really appreciate that. But Fuzzy, before I start crying, let's get your hot take on this. Square Enix for the win? Yes or no? I don't know. I don't like it from a personal aspect, but I like it from being a petty POS of the week.
I'm kind of torn in the same way. Like, it's one of those things where once they got, like, kind of like what Crispy was saying, once they got rid of Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, it's not as good of a get, in my opinion, at that point. But the key thing is Microsoft wants to get into mobile, and Square is huge in mobile as far as internationally.
Good point, dude. Yes,
and that's the big thing. And if they're going to make this push for like a mobile phone store kind of thing, it would be worthwhile picking them up. I mean, sure, there would probably be better gets out there for probably less money that would cover other bases that they may have holes or gaps in. But for the mobile standpoint, Square makes sense. Now, the petty side of me, yeah, I want to see those tiers for people when they either break the contract to get Final Fantasy VII finally on the Xbox platform, or shorten some of those exclusive things and just pay the fine. Like, here, Sony, here's your 100 mil back. Go cry in a corner, kind of thing. But the petty side of me would love to see that. But realistically, I would much rather have Ubisoft, because they're kind of struggling. Or hey, the elephant in the room would be to get Embracer Group. Yeah, I know that sounds crazy. It's not as expensive as ABK, but the sheer size of it would probably bring some more speculative eyes as far as from regulatory bodies. But I would much rather them look in those directions, or even like Crazy Lou said, I would rather From Software be one of those that they take a look at. But yeah, it makes sense business wise for mobile. I could see them doing it. They're definitely hurting for money. They probably won't say that Final Fantasy will underperform, but if you look at all their previous games, when they say underperform, if this game doesn't hit 10 mil, it's underperforming. And considering how much they put into it, because I heard it was over 500 mil.
It was a lot of money this game.
As far as for development, they're going to need to sell at least 10 million. And I'm thinking this only hits 4, maybe 6 at most after 2 years, but that would be a big hurt for them financially. And sure, they were going to look at that whole NFT stuff and figure out a way to incorporate that to kind of make up for some losses. But yeah, I think Microsoft buying them saves a few of their studios, even though they've rolled some into their main studios.
Yep.
It would probably help them out. It would eliminate a lot of this, what appears to be bad blood between the two brands. It's almost like you have to be in a bidding war to even get their games on Xbox, kind of thing. But that would kind of solve that issue. And it would add a nice segment to Game Pass in general. But me personally, there's much better options out there for everything I want. But for what Microsoft wants with mobile, I think this is on the radar.
It's possible. And you know what's funny? Out of everything we just talked about, I totally did not even equate the mobile aspect, because mobile for Square Enix is freaking huge. It is tremendous, folks. Listen, we have the big topic coming up, folks. The show's going to go a little bit longer this week because obviously we added another guest, and Dave is coming back. He had to take care of some family stuff. But let me catch up with a few of the super chats that come in here. First of all, Park Say 1972. What's up, brother? Welcome to the channel. He drops a very generous £2 super chat and says, great to catch the episode live. Whoa, that's awesome, brother. I'm glad that you are here to hang out with us. Sith Lord, good friend of the program, drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Colt said Xbox Showcase games are coming in the next 18 months. Colt, I mean, listen, the guy knows his business and he knows people in the business. So that's pretty dope. I'm glad Microsoft didn't say it, but I'm glad that we could be playing something like Clockwork Revolution, which I really think is going to be, I mean, there's nothing on that list that's not going to be big, folks. Every one of those games is going to be monster. Dreadful Sean drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, is it possible SE or Square Enix negative discourse towards Xbox is because they backed out of a deal because of the ABK deal start? I mean, you don't know, right? Like maybe they were on the acquisition list and they just had to back out at the last minute. It's certainly possible, but I don't know, dude. That's a great question. Gray Falcon OW drops an additional, very generous, not one but two super chats. The first one of $5 says Everborn insists Microsoft should buy Sega, and I agree with him. Own Angry Birds. That's a big one too, yeah. And have Japan market a new, younger leadership. Sony killed the Dreamcast with the $299 PlayStation 1 reveal. I mean, Dreamcast still my number one. I actually have several Dreamcasts. I have the Japanese one. I have the American one that was all black. And I have 86 imported games, most of which are Marvel versus, like a Capcom and SNK stuff. I love my Dreamcast. It's my favorite console of all time. He drops an additional $2. Super Jen says, don't need all Embracer Group just to buy franchises. I mean, the thing is this, Embracer Group would cost less than Bethesda, if you didn't know that. It's under, right now it's under, I think it's like 6.78 billion it would cost. So it's actually less than Bethesda, and they'd get everything, which I think they have too many studios. Honestly, they have too many people and too many studios, but who knows? So what I want to do, ladies and gentlemen, is I want to talk about last week's thrashing that the FTC took. I mean, they took it on the chin. They were bent over. They were slapped on the ass. They were punished. They were put in a corner with a dunce head that says, don't speak stupid. And it was just embarrassing. I'm sorry, folks. I don't know how else to say it or how polite to be about it. I've had a real problem with the FTC almost from inception because of the abuse of authority. But man, oh man, were they shellacked last week on the two opening days of this. And I keep calling it a trial. It is a hearing. It is not a trial because no one's on trial. It is a hearing to determine whether or not the judge decides that Microsoft's closing of this deal is going to potentially have immediate harm or imminent harm towards the market, towards other competitors, towards consumers, none of which of that has been proven by the FTC because they don't have a case. That's the reality. So what I wanted to do is kind of, I pulled a story from, let's see, where is this from? From Forbes.com. And Paul Tassi, who is a senior contributor there, he wrote this story. The reason why I specifically pulled it is because of how now again, I like Paul. I think Paul's a great reporter. I don't always agree with his takes. And this is one of those takes that I don't agree with. As a matter of fact, Paul said this, while I've said it before, I'm not the biggest fan of the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. And that's because I'm skeptical of the overall industry consolidation at that scale. Though I can't really say I can make a legal argument there. I just don't love the idea of a $70 billion takeover of a publisher when the last one, Bethesda, for $7 billion already felt like a bit much of a tenth of the size. So Paul Tassi, not a fan of consolidation within the industry, but we know that it's happening. The reason why I specifically chose this article is because it's incredibly well written. The lead title, folks, he says this: the FTC Sony case against the Microsoft Activision deal is very bad. And why I specifically chose his article, besides it having incredibly written points, he breaks down what happened. Now, maybe a lot of people weren't following it. So before we get into the panel and bring them in on the conversation of the shellacking that the FTC took, these are some of the bullet point hot takes that Paul put in this story. And he says, what exactly happened last week? This is where we start. An email was revealed from PlayStation head Jim Ryan saying that he did not actually believe Microsoft would remove Call of Duty from the console, and that he would be more than that Sony or PlayStation would be more than okay if the deal went through, contrary to the public statements that he made around the world to regulators, which of course we know that he lied. According to the story, the FTC has been hyper focused on the concept of Microsoft exclusives through deals like this, both in terms of the games themselves and also content within those games. Essentially, no attention has been paid to Sony's grand list of exclusives that are, of course, not offered to Microsoft or its consumers. And again, I mean, just if you were listening to the trial, folks, I think it's fair to say that the FTC is not there for to be worried about Sony's overall market cap or market share. They're there to represent us, the consumers, to make sure that we get a good deal, that we don't get raked over the coal. And everything that they said was about Sony. In the 2 days of litigation, not once, folks. And I listened to both days, top, front to back. Not once were consumers ever mentioned by the FTC. I find that to be incredibly disturbing. So his third point he has here is one of the most tone-deaf moments was when the FTC started asking Microsoft if it meant that acquisition could produce exclusive costumes or items for Xbox and not PlayStation. This is quite literally exactly the kind of exclusive content that was produced for PlayStation as a result of past Activision deals. Like, it's crazy to me. Here's another fantastic point. The FTC tried its gotcha Phil Spencer moment by making him swear under oath that he would keep Call of Duty on PlayStation and future PlayStations. He then swore under oath and then tried to make him swear, this is the FTC lawyer, the same about other games, and the judge was so annoyed by them attempting to do this, she cut off the FTC attorney. Goes on to say this: the FTC has shown a poor baseline understand of the industry that they're trying to regulate here by killing this deal. At one point, the FTC asked Sarah Bond if you needed a Windows key to stream video games. Like, are you serious? In addition to not knowing how existing exclusivity arrangements are made and how many Sony itself has done over the years and continues to do so, these finite points were left out by the FTC by either ignorance or the fact that they weren't being truthful. You make the decision. And lastly, the FTC called someone from Google Stadia to the stand. This is the nail in the coffin for me, folks. The FTC called someone from Google Stadia to the stand to testify about cloud gaming. The reason the deal was blocked in the UK by the CMA, all the Stadia inclusion really proves is that it's a tiny market with no real audience that's deeply hard to find its footing. It almost felt like the witness, according to Paul, it almost felt like a witness from Microsoft's side as they're trying to show that cloud gaming is a nascent market, a difficult market, and a fraction of the overall deal. It's literally a small part of the deal, what the Google Stadia representative actually said before they closed arguments for the to start the weekend was that Stadia was in competition with the console market as well as the PC market, which again completely destroys the FTC's case about everything being separate when they're all one market. We all know that they're all one market. Crispy Bomb, there's a lot to get into here, but all I can say is that the FTC looked like a bunch of boobs for day one. Sarah Bond, again, MVP of the 2 days, even though Phil did great, she was the MVP. No doubt she knows her business. They tried to trip her up a couple of times, and she let them know about themselves. Let's talk about it, brother.
I mean, this is where like my brain hurts, because if you really look at it, like if we all go back to a few months ago when the CMA changed why they're blocking, this is exactly why. The arguments against it, these people don't know enough about gaming. They just don't. And like Sarah Bond, for example, like she's sitting there just spitting out facts, because at the end of the day, like what are you defending? Like, and the worst part of this entire thing is how many times we heard Sony or PlayStation. How many darn times?
Dude, if I got $1 for each one, I'd be able to retire again.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it is that the reason why these regulators are here is to stop monopolies, okay? And they are arguing against, okay, yes, Microsoft's a huge company, but as it's been put out into the ether now, Microsoft treats Xbox as a separate entity of the company. They have to be profitable. They have to do the right things. If not, there's going to be layoffs. There's going to be all kinds of stuff. They are also saying we're finally going to take our trillions of dollars and support Xbox and do this purchase. I think they're flabbergasted at these arguments at this point, because to my knowledge, I believe the FTC called all of these people, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yes. The only one that they didn't call that was a Microsoft witness was Sarah Bond. They did call Pete Hines. They did call Matt Booty. And they also did call both the Stadia dude, which I don't know his name. I apologize for that, and Phil Spencer. So the only witness that was called by the Microsoft's attorney was Sarah Bond.
So here's what, because I've been to court myself. I've sat in trials watching other people. What will happen now, to my knowledge, is that Microsoft gets to call people now more than anybody else. You know what I mean? Like, because basically the FTC has already null and void themselves. First of all, Jim Ryan can't even show up. So how important it is to him if he's doing video stuff and he's basically giving like a speech that he pre-recorded. And then what? He got cross-examined by Microsoft attorneys. What, we can't watch it?
Yep.
I mean, let's be honest here. The judge is probably like, something ain't right. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand, like, when you're sitting there in front of a judge, like, they have to be completely objective. And the attitude that has been brought by the FTC is, we don't need a reason. We just want to block it. And that's basically what Jim Ryan said, right? So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about actually, nurturing and having competition in gaming? Or are we talking about Sony just can do whatever they want? I mean, how can you sit here like Sony in the past 5 to 7 years has just went ham on the extra skins and the, anytime they have any type of absolute like control over a game in some way, shape, or form, yet it will release on another console. They have all of these things that they literally tried to call Microsoft out on. It makes zero sense. It just, all the wording, like I didn't listen to it live, but I've watched and heard everybody's opinion. I've read all the articles, and they're all pretty consistent. This is what transpired. And I don't understand how you could sit there and do all of this, spend our tax dollars, because that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, and argue with this when you're defending the company that has destroyed Sega out of the console market, nearly destroyed Nintendo, by the way. Nintendo only had to find their niche. Think about the Switch, totally different from everything else. Like, let's be honest here. They are a console manufacturer killer. That's what they've done. They've done it with these little nuances that we saw in writing in front of us from several people that just did the reporting and didn't get too crazy into the console war nonsense. If you actually look at what was said, you can go through article upon article, Foss Patents to Post Up to whoever. And if you actually look at it, they're all almost exactly identical of what actually transpired. And for them to defend this, I don't even care about them being a technically foreign company, because at the end of the day, they pay taxes in America because they have, subsidiaries of their company in here that are headquarters, like PlayStation headquarters is in California. You know what I'm saying? So they have employees that pay taxes. Like, I understand seeing that. Like, we could leave that completely out. The fact is that their arguments, it's like they just threw it together in like 10 minutes. And, that's when you see somebody like, their attorney get all worked up because he knows he's getting destroyed. He walked in there and the fire was already going. It was already burning the bridge down. And then the judge is sitting there like, well, I've heard these arguments in a way before with this stupid thing, with the PlayStation gamers suing. Like, you can't sue something that hasn't happened yet. Like, why is that even in court? I don't understand this stuff. Like, it's beyond the reasonable doubt. It's things that I grew up knowing, and they have to prove their case. It's not there. And I'm sure, like, either Microsoft's going to do, like, keep it level and just say, you know what, we're not going to embarrass them. We're going to leave it at that. We already, and if they bring up some counterpoint somehow, which they really can't now. They already filed for, console SLC, not, the cloud gaming. That's why the CMA pivoted, because now they have a different argument in a way. But at the end of the day, all these gaming companies have all these different things that are involved, including Sony. You have cloud structure there. You have, subscription services. You have all of this. And at the end of the day, you look at it and you say, well, if you include like just subscription in general, Xbox has the better one. And yeah, they might have talking about raising the price right now, still cheaper than Sony's. And guess what? We get all those games day and date. That's where you go and say, I can pre-download these games because you don't have to pay for them, but your subscription price. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's only logical. Like, their arguments, it's like, I don't even want to, like actually do research. Like, it's almost like it's like a big dog and pony show at this point. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, but at the end of the day, like, my tax dollars are paying these people to make these illegitimate and ridiculous arguments, and you didn't even do any research. I mean, that's really what they look like at this point. They didn't even do any research.
It does seem like they have cocked it, so to speak. Like when again, I'm no technical wizard, folks, but I can say that when I heard them say, "Do you need a Microsoft key?" I was like, "Are we in like 97 or something? What is this woman talking about? I don't understand. What happened here? Did what you I mean did did you look Microsoft for Dummies and you didn't read the whole book? I don't know what to say, but it is ridiculous, and ultimately their unpreparedness, if you will, is in fact going to cost them this case if it hasn't already, in my opinion. Fuzzy, I want to bring you in on the conversation, brother, but I do got to catch up on Super Chats. Oh, yeah. You want to say something, Crazy Lou?
Yeah, I wanted to say something real quick. I mean, in this case, what shows you how open and how sure Microsoft is, I mean, pretty much all the MS leaders are in this case.
Yes.
Yet on the Sony side, which I'm going to tell you, which this is how it is. Jim Ryan is playing smart, but at the same time, he's a coward. Why is he a coward? Because I know for a fact that if he was right now in this case, Microsoft lawyers, especially with all the documents they have from Bethesda and Activision Blizz, PlayStation and Jim Ryan would have been destroyed. Yeah. I mean, they would have been destroyed to a way that
well, see, what we don't know, it's funny you're saying that because he was cross-examined. And it did come in the Sony pivoted to have that for Friday to make it private, not public. So Jim Ryan did say something. We just don't know what Jim Ryan actually said. And I got to be honest with you, if I'm being fair here, and I'm not being like a bot or just an Xbox fan in general. I'm sure the conversation must have happened with the judge where he was cross-examined by Microsoft. Said, wait a second, Mr. Ryan, you said this to the FTC, you said this to the CMA, you said this to the EU Commission, but we have emails, document XX116, that you said that you had no concerns that the game was going to be taken off of your platform. I gotta be honest with you. They got him in a pincer kind of a move.
I call BS.
Yeah, I agree. Yes,
of course, because I'm telling you, they have so much information that if Jim Ryan would have been sitting here at this precise moment, let's say they're sitting here in court. I mean, if Microsoft lawyer would have sat down and just cross-examined him, oh my God, it would have been just a big explosion right there, because they would have said, hey, this document right here, like, for example, because here's something that I love about the case and how they were talking about Cinemax, they were talking about Minecraft. I was like, wait, what does this have to do with the buy? But okay, talk about it then. I mean, I know Microsoft would have sat down and said, hey, weren't you trying to make Starfield skip Xbox? Weren't you trying to make Call of Duty do this? Weren't you trying to make Activision do that? I mean, they have so much stuff that literally it would have looked really bad on the PlayStation side. It would look really bad. And it says that Web Dave is in the green room, Mr. Boom, so you can get.
Oh, okay, yeah, we'll get Dave in here right now. Okay, there you go. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
So save your thoughts, because we gotta bring this back to you. But listen, I want to bring Fuzzy into the conversation, but and welcome Dave back in. Let me catch up on these super chats. Been quite a few of them. Justin dropped a very generous $5 super chat and says he learned his lesson when they delisted NCAA Football 14 after the lawsuit. $100 to buy now. I will buy physical as long as they exist. And see, that's a fine point. Obviously, he had something happen to him digitally, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to get caught with my pants down again. I'm buying the disc, and that makes perfect sense. Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, people saying no American company cannot buy Square Enix really don't know the law. Then again, ponies think that they know international business law. That's false. Hogue Law has already talked about that 1,000 times. Microsoft could, in fact, buy Square Enix because they have roots in Japan. We're talking about foreign entities coming into the Japanese region and buying It's to protect from foreign entities that do not have roots in their region, that are paying taxes and investing in their communities, that they wouldn't allow for a purchase to happen. That makes perfect sense. Dean Rivera drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I'm pretty sure closing arguments are on Thursday. Okay, maybe I got it wrong. And final submission of law and what not is needed to be submitted is on Friday by turns. You might be onto something. Maybe closing arguments are in fact Thursday, because that would be the 5 days. That you're absolutely correct. Thanks for the info, Dean. We have Anonymous Boss drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, salute to everyone. I'm looking forward to Starfield. Are you guys hyped too? Let me tell you something, dude. I'm so excited about Starfield that when I'm playing Halo Infinite, I'm thinking about Starfield. When I'm playing Animal Crossing with Mrs. Boom, I'm thinking about Starfield. When I'm playing whatever, I can't stop thinking about Starfield. I gotta be honest, I haven't been this excited for a Microsoft IP. This is me, folks. This is for me since Halo 3. Like, the fever pitch is real, and I'm so glad I got everything. And I'm, like I said, I'm a big old nerd. I got the collector's edition. I got the controller. I got the headphones. I may even buy a hoodie. I don't know. I might even buy a spacesuit. I don't know. I got to see. We also have Sat Nist drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Jim Ryan in court is the worst PlayStation exclusive. You know what? You know what's funny? We got more exclusives announced for Xbox at the court hearing than we did at PlayStation show. Take that and put that in your pipe and smoke it. I'm just saying, if I'm being petty and being slanderous, which of course I am. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your hot take on all the information provided. Of course, the story once again. Well, folks, if you want to read this for yourself, what I'm going to do is, because I really thought that this was an amazing write-up by Paul Tassi, I'm going to add it to the show notes. So if you want to click it, it'll be listed under stories used for today's show. This will be one of them because I think it's a fantastic read. Let's get your hot take on this, because obviously he really broke it down in a nice, small package, but he packed it with information on the first 2 days. What were your takes?
Well, some people think this is a conspiracy theory to some extent, but I'm starting to think from the inside that, some of the employees at the FTC are purposely sabotaging this case to take out Lena Khan from the inside, basically. And the reason why I say that, remember all the, leaked documents and emails as far as the morale with the FTC and how a lot of people were leaving the organization and things along those lines. I'm not a lawyer. Have no intention of being. My wife has done like paralegal stuff and criminal justice degrees. I have a couple of attorneys on retainer for, personal things and family matters and stuff like that. I've never seen a case where the lawyer doesn't prepare the witness to some extent. And having the Google guy that they brought on as their witness not be prepared ahead of time, because unlike what, having Phil as their, one of their witnesses that they want to examine or question, the Google guy is the one that's supposed to be in their favor. So there should be already a sit down, days prior to him appearing in court saying, hey, we're going to go over these questions. I mean, it's what lawyers do with their clients or with potential witnesses. It's a given. And for them to be kind of caught with their pants down, with him saying instead of cloud being a separate thing, it being part of the whole, shooting match, it kind of broke their argument to some extent. And they couldn't bounce back and say, well, this cloud thing is what killed them. No, they killed themselves. It's the Google graveyard of old, making its, reappearance again. But as far as the sabotage from within, all of these notes and a lot of the questions that the lawyers prepared seem like the ones that on face value, they may think they have a gotcha moment, but it actually gives them the oops, I'm unprepared moment look in that regard. Like the Windows key thing, the hearings or whatever they had with the Congress before, where they were talking about they were paying consultants and advisors, and they would hire them to, prepare them on some of these things. I want to see those receipts, because any of
Yes.
those people that they paid and they were talking about bringing up a Windows key for the console, that they should get their money back, or us taxpayers should get our money back. But it just seems like odd things that they were doing, and they so supposedly spent a lot of time researching, but it's quite obvious that none of their research was pertinent to this case. Whatever research they were doing, I think somebody on the inside was like, yeah, we'll feed them this, because this will be like what, their sixth, seventh, or maybe even eighth loss within a couple of years.
Might be even more than that. Yeah, I mean they're starting to get into the double digits. Funding, for sure.
So at that point, maybe this, since it seems like the bad morale, email leak, people leaving wasn't a cause for change or alarm for to get this administration to look at that or the head of the FTC, maybe sabotaging this case in such a grand fashion where it's open to the public. There are more eyes watching this case than there was for the Facebook and the exercise company or Amazon and I forget what company that they were looking to acquire back when they said, screw it, just take us to court kind of thing. I think at this point, it's quite clear that somebody is sabotaging this from the inside, and maybe for good reason, because being a disgruntled employee when the head of the department is going against what your mission statement is as far as what you're supposed to protect. You're supposed to protect the consumer, yet they only mention consumer a handful of times compared to umpteen times of Sony and so forth. So it seems like there's somebody on the inside is like, I've had enough. Let's S-can this whole case, and maybe her head will roll finally. I'm starting to think that's the case, because there's no way I can't imagine being a lawyer. Well, maybe the lawyer, because they're relying on their paralegals or their staff as far as doing the research, but that staff is like, these people got to go. That this isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what I have my student loans wrapped up in, to be a part of this circus when it comes to them trying to push this agenda that's not in favor of the consumer. It's just more so an agenda against big tech, which I can kind of understand. Yeah, big tech spends a lot of money, but hey, where were they with the whole cable companies, or even phone companies for that matter, or any of this stuff, like the stuff that actually affects our wallets more directly, or more of us directly, because almost everybody has a phone. Either everybody has cable or some form of streaming service. So when it comes to TV and things like that, and now that we've gone digital, you would think they would be more focused on that stuff. But I guess Ajit Pai, the previous FTC guy, kind of screwed some of that stuff up to some extent before he was ousted. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's I won't say a mole on the inside, but the calls coming from inside the house, and it looks like Lena Khan's head's on the platter at this point. That's just my 2 cents.
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. Look, I don't know if the fix is in, but there's something wrong. There's something wrong at the FTC. And I say it all the time. We don't like politics, especially politics are filthy, folks. Everyone knows that. There is something to be said about the fact that there's supposed to be a total of 4 commissioners, with 1 from the FTC on the board to make decisions. The 2 Republicans resigned, and they were moving slow to replace the first one that walked away, which should be illegal. But then when the second one walked away, and then put it out there for everyone to talk about, again, this is some damning stuff said by that by that Republican person that was on the board to leave. Now there's no representation from the Republicans on that board that's supposed to have 2. There's something fundamentally wrong and broken within the FTC, which is why both parties are investigating Lena Khan right now for abuse of authority. And I think ultimately she is going to be impeached. Regardless of whatever happened to this deal, she is going to be impeached. That's just my personal take on it. And if she did collude with the CMA, she should go to jail. I'll say, or be impeached at the least. That's just my take on it. It's not being vindictive or against Lena Khan. I don't know her, but I can tell you right now, I know the law. And if you broke the law, you got to pay. And if she did collude with a foreign entity like the CMA to block an American deal, and it's brought to light, well, then you should pay. But let's bring in Crazy Lou Gaming. Crazy Lou, before I do, brother, let me catch up on Super Chats have been here. Gray Falcon OW drops a very generous additional $5 Super Chat and says, the Google guy was prepared. He did a great job hyping up Stadia 2.0. Yeah, he was a bad witness for the FTC. Man, I mean, he just was. I mean, maybe he's the mole. I don't I don't know, but he was a really bad witness for the FTC. Michael Mooney. What's up, Michael? How you feeling, brother? He drops very generous £5 Super Chat and says, remember, both the UK and the US governments are up for re-elections at the end of 2024. So the FTC and the CMA will likely be replaced in 2025. That's probably a fair statement without a doubt. I know there's a lot of talk with the whole physical stuff, folks. Listen, I'm not anti-physical. I have 70 plus Switch games. That's right, 70 of them, and all of my PlayStation stuff, except for like a handful, are all physical. Because I mean, I have 70 games for the Switch. I buy a lot of games, but I buy everything physical because if you ever wanted to sell your Switch stuff, it retains its value. PlayStation, you could sell, privately and make a couple of bucks, but for the most part, most of my collection is digital. So I'm not anti physical. My brother used to break my balls all the time. I was a physical guy. I had like shelves and shelves and shelves of collections, and I love that, but I just don't have the room anymore. Maybe one day when I get to like the man cave kind of situation, I'll put all my Dreamcast stuff up. I got an Atari, I got a GameCube. I put everything out for display. We'll see. But I'm not anti-physical. But Crazy Lou Gaming, let's get your hot take on this. Again, the story that we use for today's conversation that we are having, of course, is from Paul Tassi. But let's talk about it. Let's get your hot take.
Oh man, this case. I mean, I find it funny on how prepared they are, which they don't have nothing, and they're trying like I was saying earlier, they're trying to bring old stuff up. I mean, even Minecraft was mentioned. They were talking. A funny thing that I was looking at is how many times is the FTC gonna ask Phil Spencer, how many conversations did you have about exclusivity with this guy? And Phil's like, well, I had like 100 conversations. I mean, like, seriously, basically what conversation are you talking about? And I just love on like, he added like a couple more stuff and then went back to the same question, added more stuff, went back to the same question. Like, why are you asking that same question over and over again about the whole exclusivity thing? It's like, you guys want to make Microsoft like, okay, they're going out buying studios, right? And you want them just not to make their own games exclusive. So my question was for these past couple of days was, hey, Sony buys their own studios and they make exclusivity, and nobody asked them what are they doing with their studios, what studios they buy. But yet they gotta ask Microsoft, what are they gonna do with this? What are they gonna do with that? I mean, hey, numbers don't lie. And when you sit down and you look at those numbers, for example, with Activision Blizzard, and I remember when the buy started back in 2022, when in January it was announced that they were going to buy Activision Blizz. I mean, a bunch of my friends were like, oh, they're going to make it exclusive. Like, no, financially, it's not a good idea. And they're like, nah, they're going to do it because it's going to help them. Like, no, financially, it's just not a good idea because, hey, it's $70 billion. They need to find a way to recover it. And how are they doing it is the right way. They're giving everyone access to this game everywhere. Right? And that's what they want to do in order to get that money back. And it's going to take them a while. Now, if they make it exclusive, it's going to be a hassle. But hearing everything what's going on with this case, right? How they were trying to approach, how the Google guy pretty much killed the argument right there for the FTC and the CMA altogether. I mean, they literally killed them right there, both of them. And they just don't have any proof on anything. They just don't, because Microsoft has been open all along. And like I mentioned before, I mean, this is a court case. Microsoft went in there with Phil Spencer. Nadella's talking tomorrow. Sarah Bond is there. Pete is there too. Matt Booty is there too. And oh wow, those emails. That was another thing. The emails. I'm talking about exclusivity. Oh my god. Oh. I mean, they're trying to find like every way to make Microsoft like look like they're just trying to buy this company just to make Call of Duty exclusive when they basically have been making deals and giving everybody access. Like for example, Nvidia has already launched with the Microsoft deal they made with I mean, they already launched with that deal, and it's like I was saying, it's going to be everywhere, and they're trying to prove a point that Microsoft is just not going to do it. And Jim Ryan, oh man, that email, literally, that was another awesome thing when that email got brought up. I was like, man, I just wish he was there, because really, if he was there, I mean, I could have seen Microsoft just sit down and say, hey, do you remember in this page you talked about this? You remember you talked about with Activision Blizz? Do you remember when you talked about this with Bethesda and you tried to skip us, with Starfield and all this stuff? I mean, they would have tore down Jim Ryan and PlayStation altogether right there on court. But man, all I know is that if the judge at the end of the day goes in favor with the FTC, I mean, I'm going to be with my mouth open, and it can happen. I mean, we don't know that. We don't know yet how it's going to close. It can happen. But with Microsoft, with all these things and how open they have been, I mean, really, for me, at my point of view, it's already been a win. And I don't understand why they keep going up with this case, because after Friday, I would have said, let's end this. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of taxpayers' money. I mean, seriously, they just don't have anything to bring to the table, because every time they bring something to the table, Microsoft has something to punch them back and hit them back and say, hey, like for example, when they were talking about Minecraft Dungeons on Phil, he said, oh, I agree. On exclusivity, he's like, no, I agree with this guy saying let's ship it to everywhere else, not agreeing to make it exclusive. But hey, they're just trying to make them look like they're trying to just make it exclusive, but that's the only thing they have. They don't have anything else. And like I said, it's just a big waste of taxpayers' money and a big waste of time. And the judge is really annoyed. I mean, if the judge cut him off, that's bad. That's bad. I mean, literally, they don't have the judge on their side. That's literally bad for them. That's bad.
It was bad. I mean, if you listen to it, supposedly, and Foss Patents talked about this, like when the judge kind of shut him up, it was like there was like a gasp within the people, like we're in there. Like, oh, that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Yeah, I mean, you don't annoy a judge. I mean, I've seen videos on people like they're in court making annoy a judge. I mean, when a judge gets mad, they get mad. And another thing that I was like, why don't they let Microsoft show this? I mean, Microsoft was trying to show the deal that they have proposed for Sony, and Sony ran up and said, no, we don't want to see that. Hey, why don't they let them have it? Let them see what Microsoft is trying to propose to Sony. I mean, it would be good for us to see that. It would be good for court to see that too and talk about it, because that was another thing. They're trying to push back. And I hope the judge actually does grab that and show it, because really it would be interesting to hear what Microsoft is proposing to Sony. And yeah, I mean, not only that, also the judge was asking Phil directly too, wasn't she? I mean, or he? Is it a she or he? I keep forgetting.
What, asking what?
He was asking. She was asking him basically, does he swear that he's gonna put Call of Duty on PlayStation 5, PlayStation 6?
Yes, she did.
And Phil said yes. He said yes. They said yes all the way. So literally, just after that, the judge should just close the case and say it's done, no more. I mean, what else is there to talk about? Not only that, the Google Stadia guy coming and talking about right then and there. That's it. I mean, literally, let's just close the case and say, Microsoft, you win. Let's keep on going forward, because they just don't have nothing to prove. They just don't. They don't have any arguments. They don't have any base on anything. Because if you have a company that's been open, and like I said, they took all the leaders and went over there, and on the other side, the one who's opposing it, or what he did was, hey, I'm just going to send a recording. I don't want to be in court, because of course, you smart man, you don't want to be there because they're going to demolish you there. And not only that, it's just going to destroy every argument or every narrative you had against this deal. So seriously, if you send the leaders out there and they're talking in favor, that tells you how sure and how open they are about this deal. So yeah, I mean,
They have nothing to hide.
they have nothing to hide.
Whether the judge is on their side or not, I don't think it's relevant. The judge is going to base her decision
Listen,
on evidence, right? Evidence is the key. That's what we have court systems for, and of course, the market harm situation that that the FTC has been banking on would win this case for them is not going to win this case for them. They cannot prove market harm. They can't prove harm to the competitor, which is number one in Sony. They can't prove the fact that that the markets are all separate, that Nintendo doesn't exist, that PC doesn't exist. It's just Sony versus Microsoft. It looks really bad. But listen, let's bring in Web Dave for his final thoughts on it. Welcome back, Web Dave, and then we're gonna get everyone out of here. We had
Thanks,
over
bud.
800 people here today. Thank you so much. Of course, I'm up to date on all the super chats. There's been 23 of them, which is bonkers amazing. Thank you so much for the outstanding support. Dave, let's get your hot take on your thoughts on the 2 days of litigation.
Yes, everybody hit the like button, please.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, oh man, it's important. It really does make a difference. So my thoughts. I like Crazy's enthusiasm. Let's shut her down. Let's get it done. But the judge, she is very well respected, and she's a judge for life. In other words, she can't be replaced.
Right. So there's no
Unless she
political
retires.
agenda for her to potentially be removed if she says left instead of right. Correct.
Correct. And so she, and trust me, I'm ready for it to be done too. But she is going to do her due diligence, and not only that, but when she writes up her summary, it is going to be flawless, because she doesn't want this being able to be brought back, or them try it. Because you guarantee you the FTC is going to try and resubmit the case. They're going to try and object to it in her findings, and they're going to try and move the bar again to the court system. But then Microsoft, after the judge makes her ruling, to have 5 days where they can actually go in and make the purchase. They can actually go ahead and close the deal if they want to. And within that 5-day period, which I believe is going to happen, that they're going to have the other CMA will probably either make an amazing turnaround decision, or their tribunal will actually I can't think of what they're called, but they'll probably make a a decision that they feel like that so it won't go back remanded to them, that they'll just make they don't see any harm in it, and then they'll dismiss it. That could happen too. But all this will probably happen in that little window between when the judge says it's I find in favor of Microsoft. I don't see any harm. And then the 5-day window when Microsoft can be, and there'll be lawyers sitting there at a courthouse just chomping at the bit, 601, boom, there's the documents, and throw them down, and it'll be closed. Now, will there be repercussions? There could be, FTC, fines, all that kind of thing. But Microsoft has thought and planned all through all that. So they feel like, and then even if they're going to take them to court, the judge has already ruled that purchase, can't be stopped. So they can go ahead and make this and get it done, get it on the books. If there is trial and litigation later, then Microsoft will really bring it to a court case. And we've seen already what kind of evidence they've got, and how they'll end up winning the case in a federal court if the FTC continues to push this. And they may or may not. It just depends. But at some point they may bend the knee and move on. But we don't know. We don't really know. Obviously their passions for it, they wouldn't have gone this far with, like everybody said, pretty much a crazy, no points to be made case. But I tell you, the day that Satya Nadella is cross-examined.
So if this is about competition, let us have competition.
He is probably as good as Sarah is, and she's amazing, and Phil amazing. But Satya, there's a reason he's in the position he's in. He knows what to do. He knows the right and the wrong of it, and that's why he's backed Phil all through this. And he is going to. I mean, there is nothing they can do to Satya to trip him up. I can
No.
guarantee you that he is
He's gonna
going
be
to
well-versed.
shred him. Exactly. And I think it's great that the judge. I mean, she let the prosecution have as much leeway, get a little bit of rope before she hung him. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so she did her due diligence, but when the fourth time they come at this question, and she turns it and she's like, because it was when you listen to the audio and you hear them talking, and then you hear this female voice come in out of nowhere, and she's like, "So you're saying that you will guarantee this will be on PlayStation, and you won't pull it, the Call of Duty, under oath?" Yes, under oath. And he's like, I'll raise my hand. She's like, "That's fine. Moving on." she was ready to go. So that's a big part of it, I think. But these next couple of days, there's probably going to be some more tidbits. There may be some more back and forth. Will they have a bomb on the other side to drop? Will there be some kind of, ooh, I didn't know that? Maybe. And then that's probably why we're all tuning in and listen to Florian and find out what he has to say and all that kind of good stuff. But in the end, the judge, she's a very smart woman, and she is going to do her due diligence to make sure that they can't come back on her. So when it comes down to it, she is gonna. I can hardly wait to read her summation, because it's gonna be a really good ruling. I mean, I just don't see any other way that she can go, unless it's something that we haven't heard, like the financials from Microsoft when they had that lady up there that they closed the court for that, or Jim Ryan's. But I really seriously doubt that there's nothing
I don't
there.
think that there's no smoking gun. There's smoking gun. If they would have had one, Dave, would have been in day 1 and 2.
Yep.
To set precedent for the remainder of the 3 days that they have left. They don't have a smoking gun.
Yep.
They have not been able to prove console SLC, cloud SLC, and they certainly have not been able to prove that Sony would, the dominant market leader, not even by a pinch, the dominant market leader would be hurt by this. But look, at the end of the day, this went over 30 minutes. Normally, this is only a 90-minute show, but we had an extra guest here. We had a ton of great topics. I'm glad we were able to get Dave back in. He had to go take care of some personal business, and we got his hot take on it. We did have a super chat come in here from a good friend of the program in the way of Gamer by Choice. He drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "Great show panel. Help get Boom to 13K." That's right, folks. I'm looking at the numbers right now to tell you exactly where we are and how many subs we are away from 13,000. It would be pretty dope if by week's end we can get it. We're at 12,683. So we are 217 away from 13K. I don't know if we can get that kind of subs. 217 is a lot.
You can do
for
it
a week, but hey, you just never know. But let's get to the outros.
Boom,
Yes, sir.
There was a member chat, because I know those don't show up for you.
Okay.
And it was also about Gamer by Choice.
Okay. So right here, Gamer by Choice. Wow, dude, he has been a channel member, folks, for 45 months. That is bonkers. Brother, thank you so much for the incredible channel support. He says, I am concerned that Sony is concentrated. He's concerned that Sony is concerned that Microsoft will use their own strategy against them. But where is the investigation into Sony? Has anything been done to say we need to look into Sony's businesses? I mean, there are some countries that are in fact investigating Sony, like right now as we speak. I don't know if the Americas will investigate Sony for some really crummy practices, specifically when it comes to customer service. Their customer service is egregious on its best day, where they'll block your account if you try to return something, which is crazy to me that no one's ever said anything. But we'll see. We will definitely see one day. But Dave, sell your brand, brother. Talk about your Sunday show yesterday with Retri. Had a couple of pair of excellent guests, as well as, of course, your controversial one-on-one interview. Talk about it, brother. Sell your brand.
Thank you so much, Boom. I'll make this quick. Last night's show was absolutely amazing. Retro was great on fire. Of course, we had Pong Soul, and we had 108 Dragons TV. Lemon was in the house, and they dealt it out. We usually like focus on a few topics. Retro was just firing them off one after the other. It was great. It was a full show. Great. Great audience. It was awesome. And then I did drop a interviews. You know, like I try to do this. I try and grab the gaming community, all kinds. You know, Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, all different different people who like different things. PC players, whether it's developers, programmers. I also interview them as well. And I interviewed Lono from Reforged Gaming. Some people, you know, or I guess he's very opinionated. We'll just say that. But it was a really good interview, and if you want to find out more about him, I definitely would tune in and check that out. It's about a 45-minute interview, and he's very open. He's very candid. You know, I don't do gotcha interviews because that's not what I'm about. But a lot of the roads that we talked about, he went down himself. So we just talked about it. So that's conversational podcast. That was what I like to have. So anyway, Boom, thank you so much for letting me talk about that. Thank you, sir.
Oh, my pleasure, brother. Listen, the work is the work. You put in the work. You do interviews. Not every interview is going to hit with you, as you know, with listeners. And you know what? Not every game is for every gamer. So if you're interested to find out what this dude's deal is, why he yells so much, maybe you'll learn something during this interview, because that guy likes to yell. It's his shtick, if you will, as the kids like to say. Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the best place for anything and everything racing. Where can people reach out to you on social media?
Oh, just want to thank you for having me on. Always awesome being on here, and always awesome having Crispy Bomb join us as well. Man, so much news. Can't wait until this ABK thing gets done. Definitely. Fingers crossed we hear something here before this month's out, or sometime early July. But man, for those who want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. YouTube is just Fuzzy Belvedere all together. And then for other shows you can find me on, there won't be FSP tonight. We'll have that next Monday at 10. But look forward to seeing me right here on Double Barrel Gaming for Breakfast with Boom at 10 a.m. on Friday morning. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Thank you, brother. And Crispy Bomb, I'm not sure if you're going to be with us this Friday morning, but we might have some hot takes from this case to talk about, brother. Where could people reach out to you on social media if they want to strike up a conversation?
Do they want to strike up or get told how bad their take
The crispy
is? That's where you know, I'm gonna go watch that just for you, Dave, so I could tell you how bad the takes he has.
Okay. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. No, but I appreciate it, dude. Like I have been in the crux of PlayStation podcasts and come out the other end where they delete the show because I made them look bad. But at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live, and yes, I will begin and end on Boom's Double Barrel Gaming, baby. So I will be on Breakfast with Boom Friday 10 a.m. and that is all for now. You never know where I will show up.
That's true. You don't, but we're happy to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us. This was great to have you join us, because I know you've been chomping at the bit to get your hot takes on it, and you're back this Friday, and I think we're going to have a lot to talk about. And last and no way least, Crazy Lou Gaming, folks. This is one of the co-hosts of the Xbox International podcast. And of course, if you want to follow Crazy and see him taking a shower singing about video games, you can reach out to him on his Twitter account. Talk about it, brother.
All right. You can find me at Twitter, Crazy Louis Gaming, where I say good morning, shower, sing, do all sorts of crazy stuff. And also tomorrow, yes, I'm finally back at Playing with Crazy at the Xbox International Podcast channel. Yes, on the YouTube channel where you guys can see me play scary games. And tomorrow I'm going to be starting Evil Within. So yes, come join me, follow me so you guys can laugh and watch me go through that journey on playing a scary game. Wednesdays, Xbox International Podcast at 7 p.m. ET with Sourbloww, Big Plume, and Silent Cypher. And this week we have two crazy awesome guests. I mean, we got Purple Haze coming back.
Nice.
And we got Ecstasies joining us this Wednesday.
Oh, that's a good one. Love that dude.
We're going to have a crazy match right over there. It's going to be an awesome episode. Really, come join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And on Friday, Xbox International Podcast en Español with Eternal Shaddai and ASCAP Gaming. Sometimes I may join. Sometimes, Sourbloww may join. But hey, over there at the Xbox International Podcast en Español in the YouTube channel, 7 p.m. ET also. And Mr. BoomStick, thank you for having me on. It's always awesome. Kishpi, thank you for joining us in today's episode. It's always awesome hanging out with you too, brother.
Well, it's great to have everyone here. Great conversation. This went a little bit longer than normal, but you know what? All great conversation. Again, folks, if you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing if you have not already subscribed. And of course, hit the like button on the way out. I want to say a big thank you to all the super chats. My God, there were so many of them. I cannot thank you enough for the generosity that continues to be delivered each and every show that we do. We are incredibly grateful for that. And of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me, folks. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.